Hello everyone, Pryon here, and welcome back to another episode of the Why You Should Main series. And today we're going to be covering the Artist. It's been a very long time since I made one of these videos, but I have been maining Artist for the better part of the last year, and kind of built my entire stream identity around her and maining her. She's definitely my favorite killer in Dead by Daylight, and I think I'm pretty qualified to make a video like this. So let's get into it. I am a competitive killer player and competitive tournament caster for Dead by Daylight, have almost 4,000 hours, and have been interacting with the competitive side of the game since about 700 hours. So I think I have a pretty good idea of how Killer and Survivor are played at the highest level, and I'd like to use those skills today to kind of sell you on playing the Artist. A very brief info to her kit would be that she can place between 1 and 3 dire crows on the map, and then choose when to launch them forward and hit survivors. If the survivor is hit in a 8-meter cone in front of the bird directly, they'll take damage. If that 8-meter cone goes through terrain or other solid objects, it won't damage, but will instead swarm the survivor, to which they'll be swarmed by crows and have to repel them. Any swarmed survivor on the maps, you can swarm survivors at infinite range. Any swarmed survivor that gets hit by another bird while swarmed will take damage. So that's a brief overview of Artist's kit, but let's get into why you should play her. She's very complicated as a killer. She's difficult to get into and punishing to be bad at. She has an extremely high skill ceiling, but she's very strong and very rewarding to master. Her strength is measured, though. I would be lying if I told you that she was an S-tier killer or even top 5 or top 8. She's really not. She is strong, though. I would place her probably at the bottom end of the A tier as far as killers in this game go. She's not overpowering. She's not ridiculously strong. You're not going to be able to turn your brain off and get wins with her. In fact, she takes a lot of thought all the time, even when you're playing against survivors who may not be very good. But what really sells me on the Artist is the fact that she has a toolbox of tactics to use against good players that require a lot of different thought and execution to use correctly. You're very rarely going to be in a situation as the Artist where you just cannot do anything to land a hit, as you might be with like Trapper or Pig. Now, what she needs to do to land those hits is often extremely difficult and requires a lot of specialized knowledge, but that's part of her fun in my opinion. You're going to end up learning intricate knowledge of survivor pathing both at pallets and windows and loops, but also when survivors are out of line of sight, running away from you and trying to repel your crows. These situations will form Artist's unique toolbox of skills to score downs with. Most killers just have 1 or maybe 2 things that they do to get down, like hitting you with a basic attack or using a ranged power. Artist has at least 5 different things that she does, all stemming from her single power, so I'm going to explain them for you here. The first and simplest thing that she can do is zone people at tiles. And what I mean by zoning is that, let's say, take a filler pallet. It's zoned off from everything else on the map. The survivor isn't exactly going to be able to make anything else if they try to run away from it, so the Artist places a bird on the pallet and then waits for the survivor to run towards the pallet and launches the bird. She can really lock down these isolated areas with her birds. This is probably her bread and butter, unfortunately. A lot of Artist mains think that this is boring, and survivors don't like to play against this either, but fear not, it is only one of many things that she can do. You will have to do it eventually if you like to win, but you don't want to make it your entire game plan because good survivors know how to exploit it. The second thing in Artist's toolbox is crow snipes. Let's say you shoot a crow from very far away at a gen and it hits a survivor. They run away from the generator and start to repel the crow. Theoretically, you could hit them again. If you only use 1 crow, your cooldown will be long enough to have a follow-up shot before the survivor can repel. This is a crow snipe. If you are good enough at predicting the survivor's pathing, triangulating how fast they're running and where they'll be when your crow gets there, you can theoretically damage people at any point on the map. Does not matter how far away, as long as they're swarmed first. So crow snipes, one of the most fun things she can do. It may not be as consistent against good players, but you would be surprised with practice at just how many cross-map injuries you can hit with this killer. The third piece in Artist's toolbox is the crow shotgun. If you've swarmed a survivor in chase with only 1 crow, and they're kind of close up, or maybe have a loop or connecting area to use different resources, you will want to go for a crow shotgun. This is when you have a swarmed survivor in front of you and you want to land a follow-up shot, but you want to make absolutely sure that you land that follow-up shot up close. So you go for a crow shotgun, which is simply to place all 3 crows and make sure that one of them hits that swarmed survivor. You usually place the crows in a cone. You go to the left in case they dodge to the left. You put one to the right in case they dodge to the right, and then you use the third one based on the way that the survivor moved while you were doing the first 2 crows. This is a crow shotgun, and if you can get good enough at those, Artist becomes a huge threat up close and even at medium range. The fourth thing in Artist's toolbox is more of a complicated one, and this is called herding. Herding usually comes when you place a bird from range, but it's not quite in the correct spot. The survivor maybe saw you place the bird and kind of dodged away from it, and you realized that, yeah, this bird isn't going to hit if I launch it. So with herding, it means to kind of move the survivor in a specific way, because survivors in Dead by Daylight innately want to run away from the killer, right? Herding means to use your own body and terror radius to move the survivor back towards the birds that you placed, which can result in injuries and downs. It's a pretty complicated strategy, but if you play her a lot, you'll start to understand it really well. Fifth, we have staggers. These are a very flashy tactic that artists can do. It's pretty simple to understand, though. Usually when survivors are on a generator, you place one bird towards the generator from very far away, and then you wait 6 seconds while walking towards the generator and place another bird. The survivors will get hit by the first bird, and by the time the second one arrives, the swarm animation will be finished and they will instantly take damage from the second bird. This is called a stagger, and it's one of Artist's most flashy plays. So when you play Artist enough, you will probably have the most knowledge of survivor pathing and zoning out of any killer in the game. You'll learn how survivors optimally move at tiles, you'll learn what check spots they use, and be able to place crows directly next to them to punish them for holding check spots. No other killer can do that like Artist can. You'll learn extremely precise timings based on the flight speed of birds and where they'll impact a running survivor that you know is there but can't quite see at the moment. Artist is uniquely good at kind of destroying a good survivor's optimal path for a loop, forcing them to run things the wrong way with birds, and then accurately swarming survivors with a single bird is the best weapon that she has in Chase. It forces survivors to pick between removing the birds and using pallets and windows, because using a pallet or window resets the repel timer. Artist can then strike with a snipe while the survivor flounders, or M1 them if they try so hard to dodge that they lose distance. So, that was a brief overview of everything that Artist has in her toolbox. Truly a killer that has a wide palette of things that she can use in a game. She has a theoretically infinite skill ceiling with the cross-map crow snipes, and multiple playstyles to use too. There are some artists, mostly in competitive, who like to play her in a very efficient and zoning manner. Some Artist players may find this boring. I think it's just how the game was made. Some Artist players like to load her up with aura perks and go for fun snipes the whole game. The type of people who would kind of not take an M1 hit if it was given to them, and instead go for a cool bird shot even if it misses. Or you can play a mixture of both. I prefer to play a mixture of both. I think zoning is really important to this killer as much as people don't like it. But there are so many situations where going for a really tough or flashy shot on this killer is actually the practical choice. So that's another thing that I think is fun about her. The boring playstyle is not always the optimal one with her. Her build variety is also very high. She's a good user of aura perks, even though I don't personally like them myself, and also great user of gen blocking perks, so doesn't actually need a lot of chase perks to help her out either, just because dire crows are so strong for shutting down loops. So there's really a lot you can do with her build-wise. This one's a little bit less important, but she is absolutely spoiled for skins, despite having a very low pick rate. She has so many beautiful skins that are original content, but also a ton of licensed legendary skins as well, if you're into that. You know, it wouldn't be a complete video if I didn't complain about her add-ons a little bit. they're not really the greatest in the game. She is entirely reliant on the purple add-on Severed Hands to defeat Survive with Friends squads who take body blocks for each other, but it could be a lot worse. Honestly, her add-ons are serviceable. Coming from somebody who P100 did Pyramid Head before the rework, yeah, I'm not going to complain too much about Artist's add-ons. Just do know that she is very reliant on a specific purple add-on to be at her full potential. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope this video convinced you to main the Artist. Very high skill cap, very toolboxy type killer. You're never really going to have the same game twice with her. So with that, I will leave you guys for today. Catch me on Twitch if you would like, and I'll see you later.